Welcome to SpeedTrack and welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in logical order. And this is the SpeedTrack. The SpeedTrack is a series of short videos designed to get you to create a meaningful application very quickly. All of our objects are named. Great. We can start programming. Super. The first thing we're going to code is form load. Form load executes before the form displays. It gives us a chance to do any tweaking we may wish to do before the user actually sees the form. What do we need to do? Not really much actually in this particular program. The only area that needs attention is the record count display on the form. When we first start the program, there are no records on the form. The user hasn't entered any, he or she couldn't. The form hasn't been displayed yet. And the user hasn't loaded any from a file. Again, he or she couldn't. The form hasn't been displayed, so the load button isn't really visible. So we need to display a 0 in the record count label. We do that by setting up a variable that we will use to count records as they are added, either through load or through the user typing them in. And we'll set that variable to 0. We then need to take that variable and display it on the form prior to making the form visible. That's what we'll do in form load. This video will show you how we do that. Okay, with all the pieces named now, we can go out in there and actually do some work, just actual coding. We'll do a couple simple things first. And one of them is create form load. When we turn this thing on and make it run, we want the number of records showing in here to show the number of records that are actually in our database. And we want to know what that is at any given time. But you know, as we start adding things and loading things, we're going to have a number increase here. So the first thing you want to do when you turn it on, and right now if we run it, you can see nothing comes up. We can type in here and do all that kind of stuff, but nothing good is going to happen. Nothing actually is going to take place. So what I want to do is I want to code the form load first. In other words, when the program starts, you want it to do something initially before the user even has a chance to do anything. So we're going to double click on the form itself. That brings up form load in our code. You can see this form load area right here showing up. We now can actually type something. We're going to actually put a comment in so we know where it's going. It's going to be determine the number of records in the list box and display. That's what it's going to do for us. How's it going to do that? Well, this is where we start getting into our name. We're going to have a variable put up in here. So we're going to actually create something up in here in our class form. We're going to go right under here and we're going to create a global variable called int record count. We're going to say it's going to be an integer and it's going to be called int record count. And we're not going to do anything else except we're going to say a comment on here. We're going to say that this is holds number of records in the list box. So we're kind of documenting what's going on here in this thing. You can see it's very, very light because it's not being used yet. And we're calling it int because we're going to create an integer. This is going to hold whole numbers without any decimal places in them. So that'll be in there. Now we can actually use it now that it's been established here. And because it's in the area of the class, above all these indented methods that are down here, we can actually, everything can actually see it. And you'll learn about that as we're moving forward either. So we're going to say int record count. Notice how IntelliSense helps me with the name. It's showing me the word right away, so I can just hit a tab, and that allows me to finish off that thing. And I'm going to say it's going to be equal to, and it's going to be LBX, and there's stuff coming up. The word that we use for the list box. I want to say stuff dot items. And we'll just step down here and let IntelliSense, and we're going to say the count. We want to count. That's going to give us the count of that thing. So it's going to put that in the integer. Now we'd like to display that integer on our form. Because the integer numbers are just numbers. They're binary. So we're going to have to convert them to a number that we can actually see and read on our form. So we'll say LBL record count. which is our label. Again, IntelliSense helps me again there. But .text, because we're going to be talking about the text property. In the label count text property, remember we worked with those properties that were over here before? We're going to put something in there now. We're going to make that equal to int record count. But because the record count is an integer, it needs to be converted to a string variable so we can actually see it. You'll learn all about that too going forward. So we'll just hit tab here and use the toString method that C# gives it to us, and that puts it in place. Well, I'll do a file save, and we'll do a run and see what happens to this program now. You want to test all the time. Notice a 0 pops up there. We have nothing in that integer right now. We haven't read any records, but it's displaying it where we want it to be. So that's great. That's working perfectly. Super. Again, that wasn't very difficult. You were introduced to integer variables. You got a chance to see the text property of a label, receive data. You also saw how easy it is to text your program whenever you wish. We touched on scope, or the visibility of variables in a program. All these concepts are examined in greater detail in the basics section of my website. Being introduced to these concepts now gives you a reason why you might want to dig deeper into these concepts. Let's put this one to bed for now and come back to do more programming. Again, we'll take this one step at a time, and you'll see how a complex program is actually a collection of simpler tasks. Let's meet back here in the next video. See you next time. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, please subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.